call the City Council Urban Affairs Committee meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock on June 10th. We have one item on our agenda. Order number 24, 109-136, a communication from Assistant City Solicitor Jeremy McManus on behalf of Councilor Roby with the proposed zoning ordinance amendment regarding medical and adult use marijuana. So the City Council held its public hearing on May 6th. There were no questions from the public and no public spoken opposition. This is a zoning amendment, and under Mass General Law 40A, Section 5, we have 90 days from the date of the public hearing to act. The public hearing was May 6th, so 90 days is August 4th, and we don't have a meeting between our July 22nd meeting and the 4th of August, so this has to be voted on by July 22nd, or it dies and would have to be brought back again to start all over again. The Planning Board held its public hearing on June 3rd, and they have sent their recommendation to the Urban Affairs Committee. I will read their letter into the record, and then I would like to review the reasons listed in their letter and offer my comments and open it up for discussion. I will remind the committee members and other councilors that although no vote can be taken without a report with recommendations by the Planning Board has been submitted to the Council, it is advisory, and we may adopt, reject, or amend and adopt any proposed ordinance or bylaw we choose. So the letter from the Planning Board regarding Council number 24-109-136, proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 650, Honorable Vice President Roby and councilors, at its regularly scheduled meeting on June 3rd, 2024, the Planning Board took the following action. On a motion by Dr. Fenby, seconded by Mr. Russ, the board voted to send a negative recommendation to the City Council on the above referenced proposed zoning amendment for the following reasons. The board would prefer a more restrictive approach to the marijuana ordinance and does not perceive that there is an issue with access to marijuana products in the city of Marlborough. The consensus of the board was that if the city was meeting all requirements of the Commonwealth relative to its marijuana ordinance, that the city should only amend the ordinance if the Commonwealth requires us to do so, or if there is a perceived need in the community. The board feels that under no circumstances should the city approve cannabis consumption lounges and should not include a definition of a cannabis consumption lounge unless it is mandated by the Cannabis Control Commission. The consensus of the board was that such a new business would be of no benefit to the city or its residents. Furthermore, if the definition is required in the city ordinance by the CCC, then it should include language explicitly stating that businesses offering public or social marijuana use are prohibited within the city. The consensus of the board was that all delivery options should be limited to medical marijuana only. The board agreed that the term should would be more appropriately replaced with shall in connection with medical support provided for establishments that sell medical marijuana. Additionally, the board, with the exception of member Dylan LaForce, is not in support of extending the hours as requested by Samantha Woodman, representative for Garden Remedies, who spoke as a private resident during the public hearing. Yea, Fay, Finby, Fortin, Hughes, LaForce, LaVenture, and Russ. Nay, 0. Motion carried 7-0. Sincerely, Sean N. Fade, chairperson. So going back to their comments from the beginning, bullet 1 and bullet 2, I also don't believe that there's an issue with access to marijuana, and therefore welcome the opportunity to bring in a select group of establishments that the CCC has approved. I also have no idea if there is a perceived need. The only way to find out is to let them come and see if the market supports them. This would all be under a special permit with language in the code as follows. The special permit granting authority shall grant the special permit only upon its written determination that any adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts to the city or the neighborhood in view of the particular characteristics of the site and of the proposal in relation to that site. Bullet 3, excuse me. The definition of marijuana establishment that I'm suggesting we amend is taken from the definitions of the CCC regulations and does include social consumption establishment in the list. There's nothing called cannabis consumption lounges. I've offered no amendment to include a specific definition of social consumption establishment. However, having the term included in the CCC definition of marijuana establishment doesn't mean we have to allow them. Section 650.32 of the City Code already states social consumption establishments and mixed-use establishments for the consumption of adult-use marijuana and/or of medical marijuana are prohibited. This type of use is also not allowed in 650.17 Table of Uses. The Assistant Solicitor, who I talked to today, stresses the need to keep the CCC definitions as they are and suggests that we not change them. Bullet number 4, the consensus on delivery options. Again, the Assistant Solicitor indicated as we have both types of establishments, both medical marijuana and adult use, we should not limit the delivery of marijuana for one specific type. On bullet 5, with the term should, I believe what they're referring to is language in section 3, which covers 650.32A medical marijuana treatment centers and reads, a medical marijuana treatment center should provide medical support, security, oversight by a physician, and standards that meet or exceed said regulations. This language has been in the code since first amended to allow medical marijuana back, I don't even remember when, many years ago. The Assistant Solicitor suggests it remain as written with should the appropriate wording. The CCC licenses them, and if they aren't meeting the requirements, they will either pull the license or not renew it. The amendment in sections 3, 650.32M regarding the hours is actually wrong. When I did my research, I guess I did not completely check all of the current special permits, and the hours of, I believe now all of them are 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. So I would suggest that someone move to amend the document to match those hours versus the 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. that's there now. Another option would be for someone to suggest that we delete M in its entirety and let any amendments to the existing special permits continue as they have been, where they would come in to have their hours changed. And at that, I will open it up for questions, comments from first the members of the committee and then anybody else who has questions, comments. Anybody? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just as far as point of order and process, if, let's say we drop item M from the list, do we have to re-advertise this? Or? My
understanding is we would not.
Okay, okay.
Be a simple amendment that we would make.
So if I make a motion to strike item M from the order, then whatever established hours we have in place for them.
There would be nothing
There'd be no guaranteed consistency, right?
They wouldn't have to be consistent. I think that the sense, the last time we did this, was it would be nice to have language in the code, which is why I suggested that it get added, so that, in fact, if our fourth establishment never materializes and we have a new establishment that comes in, rather than saying, I want to be open from 6 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the morning, we say, no, the hours are 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock. That's your hours. We don't have to haggle with anybody. But that's my preference. You can make the motion and we can see what happens if you prefer to not have it at all.
No, just thank you very much, Madam Chair. I was just trying to understand what the trade-offs are in addressing this situation. I would think that, marijuana retailer, open, 9 to 10 is fine. So motion to change the opening to 9, is that what we're asking about, or?
All right, so there is a motion to amend the amending of this to change in item M from 10 a.m. to be open from 10 a.m. or remain open after 10 p.m. become 9 a.m. I can second that. Is there discussion? Are we all clear? We're amending the hours of a marijuana treatment center or marijuana retailer only from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Councilor Nabin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. The opening hours for liquor stores and package stores in the city or in the Commonwealth, how early are they allowed to open? I know they have to be closed by 11, but...
I will defer to our secretary. Did you find hours? I know you sent me an email, but...
Madam,
Councilor Ossing.
so if the motion's been made and seconded, correct?
Yes.
So, again, I'm of the opinion, I'd rather keep these type of items in the purview of the city council, which is to let us govern them by special permit, versus if we set it as part of the ordinance, we're now stuck, my opinion. But the consistency part is there, as Councilor Roby, or Madam Chair, identifies, but I'm a big believer that I'd rather have the control and the power of the council, because my crystal ball looking into the future is not that good, and I want to have the ability to change it, so I would be of the opinion to delete section M versus modify the hours, but that's just my opinion. I'm not on the council. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anybody else with comments on the amending? Councilor,
Madam Chair, what was, you asked about package stores.
when they can open?
I think package stores open up at 8 a.m. It seems like I've been driving down East Main Street and I see people going in and out of package stores earlier than I thought. And I thought it was better than that, I said they probably open later. But is that what you were hoping to do, is to have the marijuana stores the same hours as the package stores?
No, I had no plan to have the two have anything to do with each other. I don't think they're related at all, personally.
No, we have 3 marijuana stores. What, are they paying the owners, are they approached us? Was there one that spoke over here?
There's the one from Garden Remedies that spoke at the planning board. They had submitted a letter after our public hearing. They want the hours to be till midnight. So if we in fact did delete M and not had anything in there, we would probably have a special permit amendment from Garden Remedies with a request to amend their hours. I'm guessing. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm a big fan of consistency, and at least this way, if we set hours, if it's 9 to 10, it's at least consistent across dispensaries, so you're not bouncing back and forth. People know what to expect when they go into the different ones, so I think having consistency would be a good thing.
Councilor Ossing.
So I did find the email that
Thank you.
Karen sent us that came from the licensing board. So the hours do vary, but basically package stores can be open from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. But you can go through each one, all of them have different hours, but the earliest is 8 and the latest is 11.
Thank you, Councilor Ossing. Is there further discussion? Seeing none. On the motion to amend M from 9 a.m., from 10 a.m. to 9 a.m. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, what am I counting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. That carries. Is there discussion on any other motion that anybody would, or any other changes, amendments, any questions on any of the rest of the document? Any comments on the planning boards? Counselor Navin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The hours piece we just took care of, so just on my general comments here, just from the beginning, I know you put quite a bit of work into this. I know it was filed under the previous administration. One of the things that I was most concerned about, you jumped on before you took this up, and that was the previous administration was looking to see an increase in licenses, and I'm glad you did not have that in here. I think the licenses we have, both from a business standpoint and from a supply standpoint, is fine, so I'm glad that was there. I just want to clarify one point that you made in your conversation with the solicitor regarding social consumption establishments. They are prohibited within the city. Is anything that we would be doing under this proposal if the CCC made any changes to any current regulations? Would they trump any existing municipal regulations based on how we, the city voted for the original law? Right, because I know that when that was done and the original law was passed based on how each community voted on the ballot initiative, kind of dictated where we were. So I just want to make sure that that's not going to tie our hands if we don't want to be more proactive.
My understanding in doing some research is that Governor Baker signed the language in the Chapter 180 of the Acts of 2022, Section 21, which reads, licensed marijuana social consumption establishment, blah, blah, blah. They're an establishment that is at a minimum licensed by the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission, established under Section 76 of Chapter 10 for sale of marijuana or marijuana products. And 2, authorized to allow social consumption of cannabis on the premises where required by the appropriate authority in the city or town in which the establishment is located, provided, however, that tobacco shall not be sold, smoked, vaporized, or consumed at said establishment. So to me, the governor has already signed law that says it's up to each city and town. We, as a community, or as a city council, already prohibited their use even before they were formalized. They are in the code, but the CCC had originally set up to do a pilot of 12 communities and then changed that to try to figure out how to work with cities and towns that wanted to have them. I personally don't want them in Marlborough, so I'm proposing that we keep what's there. It's up to the council. If somebody wants to have them, they're certainly willing to submit something that would change their ability to be in here, but they're not currently in here, and they were not in my plan to add them as a type of establishment, even though they are part of the definition of a marijuana establishment.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I think overall this is, that marijuana regulation right now is pretty fluid at the state level as well as at the federal level, as far as reclassifying marijuana differently at the federal level and how that impacts distribution within the state as well as interstate commerce, which is right now prohibited. So as things change, I think we're adapting as far as the rules go, and I think this is progress where we've gone. It shows that we are aware of what the different aspects of the business is for this. So if someone's keeping an eye on marijuana and considering to open up a business in Marlborough, I think these changes are going to get their attention. At least I hope that's the intent of this. So I'm hoping that we may end up having some businesses that may get proposed out of these changes. And I think that's really the end goal to this. So I think this was well done, and we're not done yet when it comes to this either. So we'll see how it goes from here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other discussion? Anyone? Counselor Oram. No, I think we're opening it up to people. I didn't see any other hands.
Thank you. And a couple comments. I'll just go off what Councilor Doucette just said. This will be probably a living document because as time goes on, I'm sure the Cannabis Commission will be providing direction. And as society change, we may see changes as well. But my question, and I just recently saw something about one of our establishments in the parking lot, there being issues. Has our police chief looked at these and has he commented?
Looked at the actual...
The proposal.
I am not aware of him looking at them. He usually pays attention to what's going on at the council level, but I haven't communicated any of it with him, and I don't know that any of this would impact the current establishments. If there's issues, I'm not aware of any at the establishments.
Yeah, that's why I was, his input, if he's feeling the hours might be incorrect or whatever. I was just curious if it was passed by the police chief. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Landers.
Chief would be more concerned if we changed it to midnight. You know, we changed it from, 10 to midnight. I always think in the old days that the city full of traffic coming up Route 20 from surrounding towns, bars was open to 2 a.m. or something, I think that we would be more concerned if we didn't, knowing society or midnight, whatever. To me, between 10 a.m. and 9 a.m., I don't think it's too many problems happening. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anyone ready? Councilor Preciado.
I just want to comment and make people aware that the effects of marijuana are different than the effects of alcohol, so some of the problems may seem similar, but they're not. So the establishments being open late are probably not the same as a bar being open late. So if that's a concern, I don't think they're really the same at all. So that's all.
Thank you.
Motion to approve. Order number 24-1009-136 for a zoning ordinance amendment,
Move to approve as amended.
as amended.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Order 109-136 as amended, which is changing the hours from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. That is all we have on our agenda. I will...
Motion to adjourn?
I'm sorry, before I jumped it too quick. I will report this out on the 17th and ask to have it suspension so it can be referred to the solicitor and then in proper form on the July 22nd agenda so we can move it up or down at that point. All right, now.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? 3, 4, 5. And we are adjourned at 7:23.
I gotta hit the men's room before the next meeting.